Welcome into a live edition of the Desmond Johnson Show. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson. Joining me, Shannon Smith, a.k.a. Podcast Smitty. He is the host of Quick Hits over on the Boom Broadcasting Network. You can find over on YouTube. Got a lot we could get into. Two main stories we're going to get into today. One, breaking news out of the NBA. And, of course, after the events from this past weekend, I've got to talk about what happened during Elimination Chamber during WWE. So I had to go scoop up Shannon so we could figure out what the hell just happened. We're going to get into all that and more in just a bit. You listen to the Desmond Johnson Show. Let's go ahead and run that intro.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city needs that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you won't and get your weed whacked. I'm going harder than a martyr on the starter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's 4th and inches, I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And welcome into the new edition of the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. You can follow us at the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio. And of course, Best of the Week airs on Fridays on terrestrial radio across the Triad in Winston-Salem and Greensboro. Joining me is Shannon Smith. He is the host of Quick Takes over on the Boom Broadcasting Network. Good friends of ours here at Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Shannon, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. And yourself, man? It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute, bro. I know you've been busy. I've been busy. Everybody's just kind of moving along as we get through the sports seasons. Football's finally over, and we start to divert our attention to basketball. Before we get to our main topic for today, while everybody's out on their lunch, you may not have heard, but about an hour or so ago, some breaking news coming in from the NBA. Dallas Mavericks guard Kyrie Irving has a torn ACL and has been ruled out for the rest of the NBA season. It's his left knee. He injured the knee in the first quarter of the Mavericks' loss to the Sacramento Kings on Monday night. It's pretty bad considering Irving played in 50 of the 62 games that Dallas has played this year, made his 9th All-Star game in February, and he's the only NBA player this season that's averaging at least 20 points per game, 40% from three, and 90% from the free throw line. He was having one of his better seasons ever, and it's crazy considering, Shannon, the Mavs are already without superstar Anthony Davis. He played one game on February 8th and then had an abductor strain, has not played since. They don't have Derek Lively. They don't have Daniel Gafford. They don't have Caleb Martin. Like, they've really gone through it in terms of injury, and they're now at 32-30 after the loss on Monday night and 3.5 games behind the Suns for 10th seed in the crowded Western Conference. Quick thoughts on from you, Shannon, in terms of Kyrie and the whole Dallas situation. You were telling me off camera before we even started, you were still tripping on the trade for AD and Luka. So thoughts on Dallas? Do you think they're having any buyer remorse with this trade yet, or they're just going to consider this year a wash and look towards next season?
I think we all know that Dallas really wishes that they could have had the events back from a couple months ago, because no one saw this coming with the trade, number one. And then all of a sudden with the snowball effect after that, it's like as soon as Luka left, it was just like everything just imploded. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back here with Kyrie getting hurt. I feel like that when Luka left, Kyrie left with him, I believe, because, Kyrie came back because he was playing with Luka. They got to the finals together. And then after that, you traded away the man, and then you get Anthony Davis. And we all know that Anthony Davis is injury prone. We all know that. And so with that happening, that was rough for Dallas. Anthony Davis only played one game. They've only played one game together. Like Kyrie and AD have only played one game together. And this was supposed to be what was supposed to help them with the West. The West is tough. And I don't see anything good out of this move. And then Kyrie gets hurt. And here we are, Dallas going for scraps now.
Yeah, I mean, and this Dallas team was in the finals last year. They've got most of their core. They just had a lot of injuries this year. I am intrigued to see AD and AD and Kyrie together. Kyrie does have a player option for $44 million for next year that he can opt into. However, with ACL, he's probably not going to be back. Well, I don't know. I've heard different things now. 4 or 5 months, 6 months now for NBA players might be able to come back from ACL. So we may see him maybe by mid-season next year. But to think that he might get to the level he was at right now playing, it's just kind of foolhardy, in my opinion, to think that might happen. Meanwhile, the other side of that trade, the Lakers, I think they've won 8 of their past 9 games. Luka is cooking. They have moved up into the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. They're 11 games behind Oklahoma City, but if you had to choose right now between Oklahoma City and this version of the Lakers in a 7-game series, who would you pick?
I would be afraid of this Lakers squad, but I still give the nod to OKC. You know, Shea is playing, and if he doesn't win MVP this year, I'll be very, very surprised. You know, Shea getting the 50 piece last night with the 50 wins for OKC. The odds are going in their favor, but, you know, the Lakers are going to give them a run for their money, especially with this resurgence right now, getting Luka on the squad, LeBron playing his best basketball right now. I mean, it just seems like LeBron is ageless in you know, this day and time. I would still say the Lakers are very, very strong to finish. I would say that second, but, you know, OKC is still right now. I think that they're still in the driver's seat in the Western Conference.
I'm going to use the opportunity. He is the host of Quick Hits. I'm sorry, Quick Hits on Boom Broadcasting. And normally we do Sports Buffet with David Glenn, but since I've got you in here and you're used to doing quick hits, we're just going to do some quick hits because there's things coming in fast and furious in the world of sport. I had an idea of what we were going to do today, and we're going to get to that in just a bit. But more breaking news. Of course, you may have heard Clemson and Florida State coming with a settlement with the ACC so that we can get some kind of semblance of what's going to be going on going forward in the future. Andre Adelson reporting down on Twitter. This just came down really about an hour ago. More details emerging from the settlement between the ACC, FSU, and Clemson via sources. The exit fee, which was a huge issue in terms of FSU and Clemson claiming that, you know, it was like upwards to $300, $400 million that they weren't going to pay to get out. The exit fee in this new agreement is expected to drop by $18 million each year through 2029-30. After that, exit fee drops to $75 million, and any exiting team will retain its media rights. So basically, it feels like the ACC has given the go light for team or for schools if they want to go pursue going to the SEC or the Big 12 or the Big 10, they can basically do that for peanuts after the 2029-30 season. Which, looking at my thing, that's 5 years from now. Do you think the ACC has made a mistake here doing that? And I have ACC schools that, well, besides Clemson and Florida State, what ACC schools would be most valuable to the SEC and the Big Ten, you know, for football and basketball, in your opinion?
I mean, to be honest with you, though, with the way that the SEC's basketball has been this year, it has been insane. But we all know that this is a football move. Let's just be honest. Football is still king of college sports. And I really think that Clemson and Florida State will end up going to other conferences just to get ate up. And I think the ACC knows that. And the ACC is like, okay, you want to get out of here? You want to go ahead and get absorbed by these big conferences right here? You be my guest. So I think that Clemson and Florida State might be making a fatal mistake by leaving the ACC, in my opinion. But, you know, it's anybody's game. If you're willing to fork up money to leave, then you go right ahead.
It's crazy, too, because we really think about it in the SEC, they don't necessarily need Clemson. They have South Carolina anyway in the SEC. Same with Florida State. They already have Florida in Florida. So it's not like they're creating a new footprint by adding those schools. Now, the Big Ten is different, but the Big Ten has different parameters in terms of qualification for the schools and that kind of thing. Clemson, I could see Clemson and FSU maybe going to the Big Ten. But to be honest, if I'm the ACC, if I just made that deal, the very next deal, I'm going to go poach the Big 12. Like, I'm literally in the middle of like, okay, I want Kansas, I want Houston, I want Baylor, and I want, I don't know, maybe Texas Tech or Oklahoma State. Like, those four, bringing those four in, get you to 24 teams in the ACC. You become the first Super League pretty much. And you're literally from coast to coast at that point too, because you're from California all the way to Syracuse, New York. And you can make, the only way they can add more money in the ACC is to add more teams, which is why they added those three to begin with, to the deal, the granted rights deal that they have with ESPN. So if you want to actually get more money, add more teams, get them to come in a certain manner where, now I don't know how it would work in terms of poaching from the Big 12 or when these teams could come in or anything like that, because the Big 12 has a TV deal as well. But that's what I would start doing, either that or I'd start looking at the Pac-12 that's starting to build again and build some kind of super collaboration with them. You already have Cal and Stanford in the ACC anyway. Like maybe work. The only thing they're going to be able to do is enlarge, or they're going to collapse. Is pretty much what I'm saying. So I don't know how that's going to work out. It looks like it's a big win for FSU and Clemson. It looks like the ACC's on borrowed time at this point. I don't know if they'll retract, kind of like the way the Big East did, and become more of a basketball conference, or if they'll just start losing teams. I think Carolina's the crown gem still, the ACC. Wherever Carolina goes, other teams are going to follow, like a Virginia, Duke, and like Wake Forest. Not necessarily because they're small private schools and they really don't draw the needle in terms of football. So I don't know how much that's going to work. Carolina just hired Bill Belichick, so it's like they're kind of positioning themselves for after whatever happens in the ACC. So yeah, I don't know, it's a lot to digest. It's a lot to digest, and it wasn't what we were going to talk about when we first started talking about what we're going to do today. What I want to talk about, and the main reason why I invited Shannon on, I know Shannon's a huge wrestling fan, and this past Saturday at Elimination Chamber, we had one of the biggest events that's happened really the past 30 years, which was John Cena turning heel. The only thing close to it would be Hulk Hogan turning heel in 1996 to join the NWO. What was your immediate reaction when everything started playing out? First, from Cena winning the Elimination Chamber with a little assist from Seth Rollins, curb stomping CM Punk, and Cena taking the opportunity to get him to tap out. Walk me through your emotions from when you actually when Cody dropped the F-bomb, and then everything from that point on. So walk me through how you were feeling when you were watching this. Did you have any inclination that this was about to happen?
No, I had no clue. Now, I knew that John Cena was going to win the Elimination Chamber. I mean, farewell tour, I knew that was going to happen. So I wasn't surprised. I was surprised in the manner of how he won, because he pulled the STF. And, you know, if you've watched John Cena, that was one of his signatures for a little bit. So that was actually pretty cool. So I was like, okay, they're doing a throwback here. And then when Cody saying what he said to The Rock, I was like, whoa.
I didn't even know they could do that. Yeah.
Right.
As soon as you like, what?
I was surprised, man. I was like, you did what? I'm like, oh, this there might just really be coming back. And I was like, man, this is odd. I got to eat my words, because I felt like that was never going to happen. And I said a lot of stuff about it. I'm like, it's never going to happen, and nobody wants that to happen. But now it looks like it is. And then when Cena hugged Cody and his face turned, I was like, no, they're not. No way. Mm-hmm. No, this can't be true. And it happened. And I heard the collective heartbreak of Gen Zers all over the world right then. I was like, man,
Wish kids, yeah.
It's over. I mean, for real. How many children went to bed at night? It was young me when Bret Hart, with Bret Hart, I hated that man after, WrestleMania 13. I hated that. And I was like, whoa, this is how I felt at that time. And I was like, man, it's really happening. The long-term storytelling WWE is using. I was still in shock. The next day I woke up and I was like, did this really happen? Did I dream this?
I had to do the same thing. I literally woke up. My wife came into the room. She was like, didn't you just watch this last night? I was like, I got to watch the last 5 minutes. I got to make sure that I saw what I saw. Like, I got to process this after sleeping on it. My thought immediately went to Hogan, NWO, join the Outsiders, kind of coming out of nowhere. And it's kind of parallel, because at the time Hogan was getting more booed than cheered. He had been a face for way too long. He needed a reinvention of his character. And I started thinking back, Rock and Cena have been dropping hints about this for like the past 6 months, and nobody picked up on it really. Like The Rock mentioned after Bad Blood that there was something coming down the line. I should have thought about it happening when Cena, during his Royal Rumble press conference after the Rumble, where he was basically just inserted himself into the Elimination Chamber, and he started talking in third person. When the villain's always talking third person, you know what I'm saying? Like, Hollywood Hogan's not giving up the belt, like that he was like, what's best for business is John Cena being in the main event of WrestleMania. And when he said it, I was like, that was a heel kind of thing to say, but I kind of get it. Like, he hasn't won anything in 3 years or whatever. I understand it. He laid all that out before the Royal Rumble. He was like, I haven't won a match in 2,300 days. I'm not going to be able to win the title unless I win the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, or if these things happen, or I got to change, or something's got to change. He laid it all out. So for people that were super shocked, it's been there the whole time. I think the thing that shocked us is that we were being led to believe that Cody was going to be the one that turned heel. And because we knew Cody and Cena was going to probably be the main event of WrestleMania, but we knew they both couldn't go in his faces. It couldn't be a Hogan Ultimate Warrior type situation. It just wasn't going to work. So one of them had to be heel. And Rock and Cody have been having this story going on for over a year where it was like, okay, you've seen Cody sort of start slipping towards the dark side a little bit, but I don't know. It was just like when it happened, as soon as it happened, I was just like, oh. And then I was like, oh, this actually makes even more sense because Cena has turned into The Rock. Like he's literally turned into The Rock in terms of everything he wailed on The Rock for when they had their 2 WrestleMania matches over a decade ago about how he wasn't around. He was a Hollywood star and he left behind everything. Cena saw the error of his ways when he started doing it himself. Like who else could he relate to better than The Rock in terms of where he is career wise? And now you've got a situation where WrestleMania, you got a situation now where Roman Reigns is going to be afterthought at WrestleMania, in my opinion, because now you've got it where he hasn't been in storylines really most of the year. We last saw him on that January 6th Raw where he won the Ula Follow back from Solo, and we haven't really seen him since. And we're in March now, and there's no build for a story for him other than what happened at the end of Royal Rumble with him, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. And I haven't got a chance to watch Raw yet from last night, but I did see that Rollins and Punk got into a scrum, and I think there's a Hell in a Cell match or something set for them for Raw next week, or a cage match or something. Is that right?
Yeah, still cage right, next week, though. Yes. I
think that's when we're going to get something happening in terms of Roman being inserted into this because their story's been intertwined since the Shield. People forget how the Shield came in. The Shield came in. Paul Heyman and CM Punk hired them to protect CM Punk while he was the World Heavyweight Champion or whatever, way back in like 2012, 2013, something like that, when they debuted. They came in as the enforcers for CM Punk, and their branches have gone off different ways since then. CM Punk had to leave the company. Roman Reigns became the top draw in the company. Seth Rollins became the workhorse of the company, but they all dislike each other for various reasons, and they've all crossed paths over the past like month or so. Besides Cena and Cody now being the main event of night 2, and it looks like they're going to really push this whole Cena did it for the 17th reign, breaking Flair's record, all that kind of thing. What do you think the best night 1 main event would be? Because we do have Jay versus Gunther, but I don't think that's going to end the show on Saturday.
I think a women's match is going to do it. I really think that a women's match will do it because that women's elimination chamber was so good. When they began it with women's elimination chamber, that was good. I think it's time for a women's main event for night 1. I think that's what's going to happen if Triple H is thinking the way that I'm thinking right now. It may be time for a women's match because the women are really doing a heck of a job right now. And I think that was self-evident. I'm not going to spoil what happened in the main event of Monday Night Raw because you haven't watched it. I haven't
seen it. Yeah.
You're surprised.
You probably need to go look and see what have you been on X Chat or something. And because I saw it from there and I'm like, oh, okay. So, I actually mentioned to my wife, Jennifer, while it was on, she wasn't paying attention to the pay-per-view, but I was like, wow, they started off with an hour and change elimination chamber for the women. And then the very next match was the women's tag team match. Like we didn't see a male wrestler for the first hour, 45 minutes of the pay-per-view. So yeah, they have pushed women more, which is great. I'm trying to think what would be the main event if it was the women. I'm starting to feel that they're going to push towards Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus CM Punk in a triple threat match. And I'm trying to figure out how this plays into the favor that Paul Heyman owns CM Punk and how that's going to come, because it might be Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns and CM Punk inserts himself into it because of Paul Heyman or something to that effect. But I can't figure that part out. I do think that Jay Uso and Gunther's going to open the show on Saturday. I think they're going to be the first match, and I think they're going to ride off of that and go from there. We still got almost 2 months to go before we get to WrestleMania, and a lot of things can happen from here. The whole thing, though, going back to Rock and Cena, it's set up now 6 straight weeks of Rock and Cena promos on Raw and SmackDown, just showing up wherever. And I want to ask you this, too, before I get you out, because this was going to be a shorter show today. The Rock at Bad Blood, when he came out, didn't say anything and just did the 3, 2, 1. I've started seeing people say, because on Saturday, he did this with the 2. And I've heard people start to speculate that meant there's a third man. Like there's a third man that's going to join them in this kind of power trip thing they have going on. And I'm like, who would that be that would make the most sense with the story they have going on right now? And it has to be probably an older wrestler, probably has to be someone that might be in and out of the WWE with other interests. who do you think would make the most sense to join Rock and Cena going into WrestleMania if there's a third man involved in this this Rock clique that he's putting together?
Now, you know that like WWE drops hints on certain things, and there was a picture I saw where The Rock was on, like it was an older picture where they had the truck on there, and on the truck they had John Cena, and he was behind The Rock. You pan in the truck, and Stone Cold Steve Austin's right there. So
that came across my feed too, where well, actually, I think it was him saying that he would help Cody if Cody needed him or something, which made me start thinking, what if the night one main event is The Rock and John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and Stone Cold Steve Austin in a tag match, and let Cody and Cena basically workhorse it, but you can plan some spot. Pretty much the same formula they did last year, where you get Rock in a match, but it's a tag team. You add Stone Cold Steve Austin to it. That would actually, you know what? That would actually be crazy if they pull that off, because from my understanding, Stone Cold's still in great shape. He just main event at WrestleMania, 2 years ago with Kevin Owens. So
I mean, I saw the truck and I was like, this could happen.
That's interesting, because I could see them working Cody both nights like they did last year. And it's weird that after the year the Bloodline just had, that they've almost become an afterthought in these stories in terms of what's going forward. Although all of these stories have been affected by the Bloodline, like all of them. Like, I mean, Rock's part of the Bloodline. Like all of it's been affected by things they've done. And I feel like we're probably gonna get Solo versus Jacob Fatu. Hell, by the time we get to WrestleMania, Jacob might be U.S. champion. So
possibly
might get Jacob versus Solo for the U.S. belt, which that works just fine. Hell, throw Jimmy in there, make it a triple threat like that. That would work. With Roman, I don't know. I was going to say the third person might be Roman Reigns. That would actually make sense too. If the third person with this was that, because who was he looking at in the ring when he did the motion in the first place? It was Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. So what if they have not done anything with Roman yet? Because Roman's going to be part of this two-man power trip with The Rock behind it kind of deal, where maybe they just go around collecting all the belts or whatever, like old school Triple H and Stone Cold, which would be fantastic. I'd be here for all of that. But is there a match they haven't made yet that you're wanting them to make for WrestleMania in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, they're gonna have to make Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. They're gonna have to make that, especially Randy Orton coming back during the Elimination Chamber in the unsanctioned match with him and Sami Zayn. So they'll have to make that match there. I think they're going to. That's the one I do want to see, because Kevin Owens and Sami had a banger in that match.
It was really good. Yeah, it was really good.
So they've got to add Randy Orton in there somehow, some way. So I want to see that.
I'd love to see a good tag team match, but I wanted to see. I know Tonga Loa's still out. I wanted to see Guerrillas of Destiny taking on the Usos. That's what I thought they were going to do like months ago. Like they would eventually work it down to that. I thought they were trying to put the Bloodline back together, but it sounds like what's happening is that Roman's becoming more of a face, and Bloodline necessarily may not exist in the way it existed before. If they ever get back together, we might be years down the line from that. Jay's gotten too big for Tim to rejoin them right now anyway. I could see them using it as a vehicle to introduce more Samoans, and there's a lot more to come in, and Journey Fatu's out there. They haven't introduced how do you say it? Hilo, the 6'8" kid, he's out there. Zilla Fatu's out there. Some of these players are already signed and they just haven't debuted, so we might see some of that coming up over the next couple of weeks. Anything else before we get out of here, wrestling ones that you've liked over the past couple of weeks that you saw from WWE?
I like the fact that what they're piecing together, because I was like you, I was wondering, what are they going to do with WrestleMania? Like, what's going to happen? And I was like, well, I got to pay attention to Elimination Chamber. And then, of course, Elimination Chamber just broke everybody's heart and said, here's your match for the main event of WrestleMania. Here it is. You're going to hate it. You're going to absolutely, it's going to break your heart, but you need this. You need this match. And
this is what everyone wanted, kind of. Everyone kind of wanted to see what it would look like if John Cena turned heel. And to have The Rock behind him adds an extra bit of juice, where these promos are going to be crazy. For the next month or so, like they're gonna be nuts. They're gonna be all over social media. So we got that to look forward to. Shane, I need to bring you back before WrestleMania so we can talk some more wrestling. And actually, I just need to bring you back and put you in the buffet a little bit, because you already do that already on Quick Hits, and I want to give some shine to you, Mike and everybody over at Boom Broadcasting. For those who know, they started off over here at Tobacco Road. Mike branched them off into Boom Broadcasting. I'm super proud of what they've been doing on sports content here in North Carolina. Shannon's part of that crew over there. I try to bring over some whenever I can. I've been trying to get Mike on, but he's a busy dude. Like, he's all over the place. Yeah, so it's hard to figure out like when he's available to do it or whatever. So I might get Mike on also, but I'm definitely going to bring you back in with NFL free agency. Shannon's also the host of one of our Panther podcasts here on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, along with Ryan Frick, the Cat Cave. So that'll be entering season 3 going into the fall, and I assume they're gonna have some draft coverage and some free agency coverage coming up here soon. So you can catch Shannon on Tobacco Road still on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network as well. Anything you want to push or promote coming out for you got an episode coming out soon or anything like that?
Oh, actually, I do. I'm working on an episode as we speak. I may be dropping very, very soon. With that being said, I'm changing around my format on the way the show is going to be. It's going to be quicker segments. I'm going to be dropping throughout the week. It won't be a big show. It won't be like a weekly show, but anytime that I drop anything, which I've actually dropped my thoughts on John Cena turning heel on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. I just dropped that Monday. Talked about that. It's under 7 minutes, but it'll give you a good perspective on why we needed this as wrestling fans. There'll be more that I'll be working on. I'll be talking about, Rick Pitino, if he should be considered in the GOAT talks of college basketball.
That's a good one. St. John's winning the Big East for the first time in like 40 years or something like that under Rick Pitino. He's done that now, I think, with 4 different teams, if I'm not mistaken. 5. Let me see if I can. Kentucky, Louisville, Iona, St. John's.
And can't remember the other. I mean, for real, can't remember the other.
There's another one. I think it's the first one. Yeah, but that's good. I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. So definitely keep an eye out for Shannon. We're gonna start having Shannon on more often so he can actually promote his work over at Boom and his insights over here on Tobacco Road. We're gonna get out of here. Everybody get back to your cubicles. Lunchtime is over. We will see you guys tomorrow with a brand new episode. Matt Alquiza from Sports Illustrated, the Charlotte Hornets beat will be on. We'll go more in depth with the Kyrie Irving injury. We'll go more in depth with everything going on around the NBA, including the Lakers surging to the top of the Western Conference and Cleveland having the best record in the entire league. Who would call that in the summertime? So we'll get into that and more tomorrow. We got a loaded NFL/Carolina Duke rivalry Friday coming up for you. So stick around. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Rate and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you tomorrow.